Parking is not new in Lagos. It's been there for since time in creation, in fact. What happens now is that government has said we are going to restructure this sector. No more collecting money. No more, I wake up in the morning and I feel like people park here. All of a sudden, I'm collecting 500, 1,000 naira. If you want to be involved in the parking business, you need to register. In essence, we are regulators. And I'm sure if you look around Lagos at the moment, especially around the CBD areas, you would have seen a lot of markings on the floor, the poles and the signs going up, because we understand that change is progressive. And we want to make sure that before we start the on-street parking scheme, we put the signs up, we do the lane markings, and then, of course, we embark on a PR exercise. But setback parking is not new. And businesses in Lagos know that. They have typically paid to the local governments since the local governments have existed. But what we've said is that we can run it better, more effectively, transparently, and with integrity. And so we've taken that responsibility up to make sure we deliver on our mandate. The case that happened last week was quite unfortunate. As with everything, there are two sides to a story. But we had put out a press release, and I'd said in the press release, we had attached some documents. Health Plus in particular was aware that we were coming. We had issued a demand notice in December 2022, which was signed by them. After they signed, we had gone there twice to speak to them before we pasted warning stickers in March. After March, we went there twice after that.
That's March of 2023? March of 2023.
2023, yes. I can share it with you.
But the first demand notice was 2022.
December 2022, because we understand that a lot of corporations plan the year ahead, as with government, with their budget and the rest of that. So not typically, we will send out demand notices, for instance, in 2024 by December 2023. It means that corporations and businesses have time to plan ahead. And regardless of the time that we've sent it, we have said it many times that you don't have to pay at once. If you start early in the year, you can pay in installments. What we're looking at is less than 700 naira a day. Now, the last time Lagos State reviewed its parking rates was under Governor Shiwaju, who is now President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. So 23 years later, Lagos State decided to review its rates from 40,000 to 80,000 being the highest. But then we also took into cognizance that it's not the same. Land is not the same rate across Lagos. So we did it according to sections, the highest being 80,000, the lowest being 10,000. So it's not the same across the state. And banks and other corporations will tell you that they paid local government for years. So I have a particular problem with people that try to feign ignorance, which is what Health Plus did. They believed that they acted as though they did not know what was going on. Of course, no institution is perfect. I'm not saying we are perfect. We continue to learn. But one thing we try to do is ensure that our service delivery is world class. Our men did not respond that day because they've been trained not to respond to aggravation or confrontation. It's easy for you to say something and it's misinterpreted in another way. And so the best thing is to do your job effectively. The moment they realized that it was a customer vehicle, they unclamped. I can share that video with you as well. Our men wear body cams everywhere. That is part of their training. So if government has invested a lot of money in training, then we need to see it work in practice. But they don't say anything back. However, this is not the first time we've been in the news. I remember last year there was the case of the supermarket in Lekki that said, oh, we were coming to charge them all sorts of things. And it's not true. So we try to use technology to mitigate some of these issues, because very often you say somebody says something, another person says something else. So technology is our way of letting the public see that, no, that is not the case in particular. But all these things are backed up by paperwork. I can show you when the acknowledged demand notice was sent out, when the warning sticker was pasted and their staff was there. We have it all on camera. Okay. So we're trying to run a process that people understand, and we're trying to do it with integrity. We don't force companies to use the setbacks. But I guarantee you that if you write to us and say you're not using the setback, in less than 2-3 days, another company will take it up. Whether or not we like it, parking is an issue in Lagos. What we expect is for businesses to be able to come to us, and I have to tell you, many have come to us to say, look, this is new, we did not factor it in. How can we go about it? In some instances, we've said, look, we understand the peculiarity of the business you're facing. What can we do to help you? There's some businesses we've done that to. Some people pay monthly. So it's not an issue of even coming to pay at once. But the most important thing is accepting the responsibility. You use this place, it belongs to government. And why wouldn't you pay government dues? I've heard a lot of people say, oh, but in England, it doesn't work like this. In New York, it doesn't work like this. And I gave an example. If a Boots should open up, for instance, in Shepherd's Bush or whatever, the Boots will make sure it has paid council all its taxes and dues so that when the customers come to park, the customers do not have to be clamped or towed or given any parking fine. It is the same thing that is applicable here.
Okay.
Whereas before Health Plus would have paid the local government, now we're saying pay the state.
Okay.
And it is 10 months now and they refuse to pay.
All right.
We're not saying that we should tow customers' vehicles. The minute we realized it was unclamped, we have...
Maybe to quickly, because we are almost out of time before the set of ads. The first caller asked, are your staff not trained to ask questions? So in other words, to say, maybe if they had asked, they would have found that it was a customer's vehicle. Please, you can answer in a minute.
Okay, yes, we are. And in fact, we had it on authority that it belonged to a member of staff of Health Plus, which was why, and they always wait around that area. So what we do is when we go for enforcement, we pick a particular area to work by. So just in case there's anything, they're back to remove it. Now, if the customer in question had decided to ask questions, as opposed to coming out to make accusations, then of course, I'm sure they would have answered politely. But it was a case of videoing them and making accusations and all sorts of statements. And in that case, they are not supposed to respond because we know that if you say one thing, they will say you've said something else. Okay. And like I said, I can share our own video with you. The moment they found out, they went to an unclamp. I'm sure that they would have responded if questions were asked in a civil manner. But we don't want to engage. We don't want to get into a little tit for tat. So the training is do not respond.
Okay,
so that there's no further aggravation.
But going forward, is it possible, like if one of the last callers asked, that your staff will try to find out, get some information, and before they clamp the vehicle, so that they don't get into a situation like this in the future?
Oh, absolutely, and we do try to do that. Can I just also say it's very important that within our laws, our powers say that we have the power to seal the organization, but I believe, I'm a woman, I'm a mother, and I believe that because we understand that Nigeria is generally going through a transformative period, it is the last resort to try and seal a business.
Right. Okay.
I think that it works both ways. According to the stats we have, by 2053, we are going to have almost 3 times the number of vehicles. And how do we start to plan as a mega city? It is by making sure you bring in effective transport management systems, which include a parking management system, so that when if it is a developer putting up a structure, you think parking first. If I'm building 6 flats, that means ideally I should have a minimum of 18 parking spaces. If I'm building my company, my head office, and I'm recruiting 200 staff, ideally I should have 300 parking spaces because I know that my customers and my staff as well are going to need parking spaces.
Yeah, but
Lagos does not think about that.
Okay, madam, land is at a premium, like you said, is the oil of Lagos.
Yeah.
Will the government of Lagos State, maybe the parking authority, go ahead to look at building high-rise car parks, because people who buy land can't afford to have parking space for 200 or 300 cars? That's going to be really expensive. So is that something that you can look at, to build high-rise, especially in the BC areas? Yes.
So we here try to encourage the private sector. And I think I was on Arise Business News last year, and I spoke about the power of investment and how lucrative the parking business is. At the moment, we've developed a prototype because we took the Oniru Access Corporation Drive as an example and the traffic there, especially on weekends. And of course, we reached out to Adebisi Adelabu to say, what can we do? And he graciously said, look, there is land here. We understand what you're trying to do. And we're in the process of making our plans, bringing in investment to put something up there so that once that parking infrastructure is there and can take about 600 vehicles, any vehicle that is parked on that road will be clamped or towed. So yes, we are working on these things, but we try, at least at the authority, try to encourage the private sector to come in and partner with us and work with us. We have land, we've identified land in certain areas, Broad Street, Victoria Island, and we're saying, come, we can concession those places out to you.
Madam,
at the end of the day, Lagos is a capitalist state.